Hello, we're going to talk about industrial networking. I have with me Bob Trask, North American representative, EtherCAT Technology Group. Trask worked at Beckhoff Automation as an engineer, software product manager, and systems architect for 20 years. Trask holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from North Carolina State University and has 30 years experience with automation, motion control, and communication systems. He's a registered professional engineer. I'm Mark T. Hosky, Control Engineering Editor and Content Manager since 1994. Different networks address safety in different ways. Can you talk about how EtherCAT functional safety extensions and the protection they can offer users?
Yeah, safety, communicated safety is interesting, and there's a lot of commonality there. And the commonality is that you want the safety system, you want the communication system to transmit information. You want to transmit the information in a way that it's mathematically assured of getting from point A to point B. And if there's anything wrong with it, you know about it. That is the key. You don't want to make any determination about the data. You just have an extra core, actually two corridors. It's called Ether is. This is not just EtherCAT. There are a lot of safety communication mechanisms that use the same thought process. It's just because of the optimization of how EtherCAT works. Safety is a large consumer. It's a pretty hefty wagon to tow. But anyway, you provide the two channels and you assure them mathematically that I'm going from point A to point B, and if there's a bit problem or a CRC problem, I know about it. And I occasionally have a conversation with somebody that says, well, I sent this safety. What if I send this safety information and a bit that turns this giant motor on gets noise and the bit goes high? Does that mean my motor is going to turn on? No, because you have CRC, which is how Ethernet frames, not only with safety, but you have an overall frame CRC, and you also have safety frame CRC. So you have this dual way. And the ETG actually has a mathematician now to do the different calculations and things to make sure, again, that we are mathematically assured of transferring information. And if there's a problem, we know about it. And I do want to mention that EtherCAT approached safety in an interesting way, and by EtherCAT I mean ETG, and that they, from the start, they looked at it as, okay, we're an open system. We try to, bring in people from different vendors and have them coexist. Can we do the same thing for safety? So that the gist of it from the beginning was, to have an openness in using safety systems. So not only do you provide the dual channel, but we also provide people with a lot of assistance in conforming, not just a device conformance, but a safety conformance, and also have, mechanisms with notified bodies that we have a relationship now with over the years. And okay, this device, this safety sensor or anti-tie down or light screen or safety drive has gone through the normal EtherCAT conformance, has gone through the normal EtherCAT safety conformance. We've taken a look at our lab, and it's much easier pill to swallow to get this device on the market without taking years to have an assurance of conformance. And it's 40 some odd both controller and device safety companies advertise working with FSOE, fail-safe over EtherCAT. I call it safety over EtherCAT, but technically it's FSOE.
Well, that brings up an important topic. Interoperability is high on the list for many end users, increasingly for machine builders. How does ETG help with that?
Again, we recognize that it's a complex topic. and we recognize the importance of it at the same time. And it's a big focus. It's the obligation of every vendor. Not only do I make an EtherCAT device, I have to run it through a thing called the conformance test tool. It is the only cost. ETG membership doesn't cost anything. If there are licenses for use of a chip or use of something, they don't have a cost with them. The conformance test tool is continually maintained. It's about $1,000 a year. It's a subscription, and every manufacturer of an EtherCAT device has to maintain a subscription to this. And it's really it doesn't have to go off to a facility. That is an option, but it's really good for everybody, because the last thing you want to do is release something out there where you're going to get a bunch of support calls. Okay, no one wants that. The end user doesn't want that. The OEM doesn't want that. The integrator, certainly not the manufacturer. So everybody benefits when you can say, I've run it through this test tool, everything checks out, we're ready to go to market. And the chances of anything happening, I can't make this thing work, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, are almost non-existent. And it really has worked very well. And then the focus of the ETG to not have a static test tool was a very wise decision.
So how is your plug test events different than conformance testing? Is one part of the other?
Well, we just had one last week, as you know. So, and it's the first one we've had in 3 years. It was great to do it again. It's my favorite. It's probably my favorite thing to do in this role. And okay, we get a bunch of controllers in a room and get a bunch of devices in a room and start hooking things up to each other. And these don't have to be finished devices, and often aren't. They're often at some point in their development. And also, people come and go, they transfer companies, they move, they get new jobs, and conformance is complicated. And we work with it. By the time using EtherCAT, by the time you're buying a device from somebody's already gone through all this stuff for you. That's the good thing. So these are the guys that are building devices. And yeah, you buy the chip from EtherCAT and you integrate it, but there are certain things that have to be in certain places and certain data to make sure it all works with anybody. And often people that come to the Plug Fest, they're maybe not the most familiar with. Maybe they're new to the company or new to EtherCAT, and maybe they know all about can opener, or all about this, and here are the similarities, and here's what's different. And it's nice to be able to hook various controllers up to the devices. And we do learn stuff. We're not perfect. We say, that thing should work, and it doesn't. And we have the people in the room that can address that on the spot. But the final thing we do, and this is the big favorite, is we hook all the devices up. The last thing, so all the devices have gone through all the controllers and everything's been updated, and they figured out maybe a few areas to work on, but for the most part they work. And then at the very end, we hook all the devices up, just in one long line, and then one at a time hook the controller up to it. And we do this live. We do it on the screen. Everybody can see everything, and we watch each controller one at a time go to this network we just created, where every device is from a different vendor, and it just is remarkable. It's a learning experience, because not everything is fully developed. And oftentimes we encourage people to come and say, well, I'm not the developer, I'm responsible for supporting this device from North America. Sure, come, bring your device. You'll learn more about your device, and learn more about EtherCAT, and learn more about other controllers. So it's an educational and a design benefit for anybody involved.
The importance of cybersecurity was emphasized. You brought that up early in the discussion. Did you want to mention anything else about that and how EtherCAT decreases risk for cybersecurity incidents?
Yeah. And cybersecurity is so complicated. And wouldn't it be nice if I got this system? It has a controller, it has devices, it has an Ethernet port. Wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to have a bunch of meetings to say, how are we going to secure this? And I actually spend quite a bit of time working mostly with end users on why you do not want to do your normal, I have an Ethernet port, therefore I need to do my normal IT things to it. Because this is not an IP routed protocol. It does not use IP addresses. As a matter of fact, built into the protocol, if somehow someone snuck an IP frame in there, it would get destroyed. EtherCAT's an ether type, like ARP or different things. You can look it up. It's in Wikipedia. And any non frame that's not an EtherCAT type just gets destroyed. Basically ignored. So cybersecurity is by far mostly IP routed issues. The attack vectors, the things, and if you don't have to concern yourself with that on a device level, not talking northward, but if you do not have to concern yourself with that on a device level, huge benefit from everybody. And if anything we can do to help alleviate concern, like how can we have an Ethernet port but not have what if we put this in there, plug that in there, what if someone did, we have ways of addressing all this. But I'm a controls guy. I like to make things work. I like to make motion systems work. I don't want to deal with cybersecurity. I mean, and again, it's just very complicated. And part of my fear is, that it is so complicated and kind of cryptic, and it constantly changes. And I want to, if I'm having those kind of meetings, if I'm having those kind of discussions, that means it's taking me away from controlling things. I'm a controls guy. I want to control things. I don't want to have to worry about cybersecurity at the machine, at the device level. And luckily, a lot of people are recognizing that these days.
And what you're describing, Bob, is very different than the old school where, oh, we're just playing floor stuff. Nobody's going to hack us. It's two different things.
It's not anymore. We can't think that way. We all know that. During the time when we didn't travel so much, I spent a lot of time looking at, IEC 62443, the industrial cybersecurity ongoing standards, and it's interesting. And I got more into it, like, okay, how does EtherCAT get around this? How does EtherCAT get around that? But like I say, there is no, you're not going to get, if you go to ETG site and look up where's the how to cyber secure EtherCAT networks, there's nothing. It's more convincing people that since we don't use IP addresses, and here's how we handle IP addresses. So if somebody put a bum slave or somebody did this, here are the ways the standard will deal with that. And then they put at ease, and we've had no incursion, no notification of anything, bad ever happening in an EtherCAT network.
Finally, Bob, where can people go to get more information?
EtherCAT.org. There are many documents there. The most popular of which, if you go to the EtherCAT.org site and look up downloads, go to ETG 2200. The 2020, the 22 document, some people call it. It's 2200. You can just do a search for 2200. It's the famous EtherCAT implementation guide, which is not an easy read. I keep one on my coffee table, and I keep 3 copies around the house because I'm always looking at it after 18 years. And that has just about everything you'll ever need to know and then some about EtherCAT. But there are also documents about diagnosis. What's a good way, diagnosis for users, not so much for developers. User of EtherCAT, what's the best way? There's a document there. There's a physical, the ETG 1600 document, which is what's a good way to wire, ground, shield, what kind of cables, what kind of shielding, what kind of grounding for an EtherCAT system. And that's interesting because EtherCAT is Ethernet, so it really should say, good manufacturing for Ethernet, but the auto industry demanded a document for EtherCAT wiring, but it really is Ethernet wiring. It's good, and I am more than happy to discuss that with anybody. So there are tons of stuff at the EtherCAT site. Now, there are many documents that it's a member organization and you have to have membership, but that's really, I need to get into super bit level, chip level kind of thing. If I just want to know how it works, ethercat.org. Beckhoff, who created EtherCAT, has a number of documents, so you can go to beckhoff.com and just type in EtherCAT and all kinds of goodies will show up. And just a plain old Google search. There's a bunch of YouTube videos. A lot of companies have offered their explanation for how they do things, and just use the tools available. There's tons of stuff, and then I'm always available to work with people on any level, technical, or I need help internally how to do this. And if you go to the ethercat.org site, there's contacts. There's 5 world offices. The headquarters is in Nuremberg, and there's us here in North America, and there's one in China, Korea, and Japan. And of course, anything we can do for you. And frankly, Mark, things like this help a lot too. So I do appreciate our latest interactions with each other, because this is a huge deal to help people understand things. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob Trask, North American representative, EtherCAT Technology Group, for the discussion, the perspectives, and the insights. I'm Mark T. Hosky, Control Engineering Content Manager. Thanks for joining us.